This is The Instigators, presented by Seneca Resorts and Casinos. Nothing else comes close.
We are going to overtime.
Thank you, RJ. Indeed, overtime is upon us here. Instigators style, presented by Seneca Resorts and Casinos. Marty, I'm Brian, and this, Marty, is going to be a little different than our daily show in the sense that we're going to dive in with guests from around the hockey world in longer form interviews, get a little more in-depth, more personal, and I dare say have a little more fun because you and I tend to do that every time out.
No, it's going to be great. Now, I got to tell you, Duffer, as a goalie, when I played, I loved overtime, did not like the shootout. So I'm glad we didn't call this the Instigators shootout because I would have walked right out. Now, as a fan, I love the shootout, but just because I'm involved and I felt like my save percentage was going to be really low, I love that we called it the overtime, which I think I have a winning record in overtime in the National Hockey League. So maybe something we'll have to look at.
Sabres are one of the winningest teams ever in NHL history in shootouts, and you've given me an idea to continue tweaking this show as we move forward, perhaps adding an element of the shootout week after week after week. Now, what I'm excited about out of the blocks here is the opportunity to talk to our first guest, Don Granato, head coach of the Buffalo Sabres. It's not game specific. It's not anything to do with the day-to-day. It's about Don himself. And I think the market has already invested a lot of their heart and respect towards this Buffalo head coach. So a lot of people have already been digging and digging and digging. But Marty, I think there's a real opportunity here for us to learn just that much more about this guy.
Yeah, no, simple things like how did you start playing hockey? When did you know you wanted to be a coach? Family wise, like, I mean, the Granato family is a hockey family. So how was that dynamic, And so that will be very interesting. Now, I do believe that the Sabres fan base and the hockey fan base is really enjoying and liking listening to Don Granato talk about hockey, talk about other things. Like we've had conversation with Donnie about multiple things, and he's always very invested in those conversations and interested to hear a story. So I'm looking forward to that and what he's going to say when we come up with some really, really fun family background that we were able to dig up.
I was going to ask you what's his best trait, and I think you just hinted at it there because of how you think people respond to him. So I'm going to say honesty. Like I really feel like he's not giving you a lot of BS, quite frankly.
I think that's exactly honesty. He's not afraid to be calm and mild mannered, but at the same point, I think he's not afraid also to stiffen up and really stand his ground and up his voice if he wanted to as a coach. And also not afraid to say, well, that didn't work. We tried this, didn't work. We're going to try something else. I think he loves having to find solutions to problems. And as a coach, that's a great thing. Now, you don't want to have any problems. That's a lot better as a coach. But if you do have some, and hockey is a game of mistakes, so there's usually a lot of problems, he loves trying to find solutions.
Well, this is going to be a great segue to Don because the last text I received from him was moments ago saying, working on internet connection, might be a few minutes before we see you guys. So guess what? Don Granato is ready to go. Don, Marty, and I were just discussing some of your admirable traits. What are you most proud of? How would you identify, yourself with a certain character trait?
Oh, my smile, Brian. I don't know.
Well, it'll surprise no one, and especially not you, to know that I get accused of not smiling enough. So I'm glad that one of us is carrying the smiling torch. And Marty does it pretty well too.
I will carry that. I will probably carry that for us, Brian.
Was that something that when you were a kid, like either your parents or your siblings were like, Donnie, you got to smile more, or it's always been something with you, just a smiling kind of guy?
I have friends look at a good friend saw a picture of me as probably a 5-year-old. It was all of my siblings. So in family, I was the only one with a serious face, and they pointed that out right away. Immediately, they pointed that out. And I went back and looked through some pictures, and yes, I always had a challenging time smiling, I guess. I smile on the inside.
So you were the typical hockey guy that when he showed up for his hockey picture, it wasn't like, hey, here I am with a big smile. You had the tough look from the time you were 5 years old?
No, you're getting me to smile way more than I have on average, Marty. So yeah, no, I was not. I just felt uncomfortable for some reason. So, my mind is always, it seemed like my mind was always going on something else.
Oh, well, that we know, and we're going to dive into that. But now you've got me thinking, Marty, and you've got me thinking of picture day on your minor hockey team and the ridiculous skating poses and all the rest of it. But you were a goalie, right, Don?
I was a goalie.
Okay, so mimic. What do you remember about picture day? What was your pose? How did you look? And did you ever crack a smile on picture day?
You know, I don't know the pictures, but I do know that my first idol in hockey was Tony Esposito.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, like most young kids, I mimicked his body language and his movements, and as much as I could on the ice, in the basement, wherever we played, I would do that. Then when I ended up switching to forward, it was Dennis Savard, and it's probably why I never played in the NHL, because nobody could do the things Marty knows that nobody could do the Dennis Savard could do. And you're trying to replicate that as a kid. It's not a good path.
Well, what hand did you catch with though, Don?
Oh yeah.
Left.
So you're a regular goalie. Duffer's the other way around.
Right,
so.
but which was Tony Esposito. So I had an old hockey glove. I didn't have goalie gear at that age. So I had an old hockey glove that I taped a piece of, like plywood on, and then wrote 35 on it for Tony O. So
wow.
So I felt real close to him because I, caught with the right hand. So
now you said, Donnie, that you switched from goalie to player as a sophomore in high school. And I remember playing baseball, and I was a left-handed batter, and I was thinking I need to learn to hit righty. I wanted to learn to hit righty so I could, switch and be that advanced. Now in hockey, going from goalie to forward, like that's almost unheard of as a sophomore. Like what happened then? Why make the switch then?
I got sick of Tony shooting pucks at my collarbones. I don't know. I'm a little older than you, Marty, but those shoulder pads, they used to be two-piece for goaltenders.
Yep.
You'd have like a baseball catcher's chest protector, and then you'd have these foam arm pads.
Yep.
And there was a gap right in here where your collarbone was, and he used to love to try to hit that when he'd shoot at me. And that was part. I skated a lot outdoors in the wintertime. We were yelled at to come in the house to eat because we wanted to be outside playing. And hockey specifically, obviously. And my bantam year, second year bantam, was the first time we had two goaltenders on the team.
Mm-hmm.
It was myself and Joey Nillis, and our coach wanted to go one game for each goalie. And so I was now sitting on the bench for the first time for a whole game, and I was going crazy with it. And I kept asking the coach, if I'm not going to play, you're going to play Joey, please let me play forward. And he denied me until about late December. I think we were in a Christmas tournament, and we were down a few players. He probably just didn't want me to take ice time away from anybody else. And he said, "You have your forward gear?" And we were local, and I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you can play forward tomorrow." And I did, and had a lot of fun scoring goals that game. And he looked at me after. He said, "Hey, you can play forward anytime you want." And I made that switch then. And again, I played outdoors all the way up, so
yeah,
I just had to play organized.
Marty, the crazy part of this is not only does he make the switch he then finds a way at his newfound position to turn it into a scholarship at Wisconsin.
Well, I knew the only way to go to Wisconsin was to get a scholarship. So, at the time, Mellenby and, Maley and Chelios, when my first Badger game, those guys were playing in the game, Pat Flatley. And so I remember watching that game with 8,000 people in the building, and I thought, man, I want to score in this building. I want to play right here, and I want to score. And I thought about it a lot more. I was like, there's no way to play in this lineup if you're not a scholarship, and I needed a full scholarship in my mind to do it. So, a lot of training went into the next few years. I spent each summer 10 or 11 weeks up in Brainerd, Minnesota, at a hockey school working and skating.
I've been there. That is that's a unique location. Let me tell you, Brainerd, Minnesota. Very
Yes.
unique over there.
And there were a lot of good coaches there, but a lot of unbelievable hockey players went through that place.
Yes.
And for me, that's where I learned the game. Learned it, a lot about coaching. So I was a counselor. Then they actually promoted me to coaching like Pee-wees and Bantams when I got a little bit older. So I knew I started to like coaching then, but I got to train with, the best players, really a lot of the best players in the world at the time. And that helped me considerably.
Now, I did a lot of research for this interview, Don, so I dug deep, and I realized that I don't know if it's just the way it is, but in this time that I grew up in, and probably you grew up in, you said you're a little older than me, but still, like, I feel like it's all in the same bubble. We played a lot of knee hockey in the basement. So did you develop any skills playing knee hockey in the basement, either your hands or other ways to manage the game?
I think a lot about hockey sense when I think of that. Just, we had an unbelievable basement. It was a finished basement, but my parents took all the furniture out of there and let us beat the heck out of each other down. and so the lighting was amazing. The walls were paneled. They just had enough flex that you could throw each other into the wall. And it was amazing. So we played knee hockey, and then we actually stood up and played. There's enough room to stand up and bang each other around. But yeah, I'd have to say a lot of hockey sense, and without question, a lot of compete. I mean, there's a lot of times I've had incredibly skilled players coaching them, and I thought, man, if this guy had an older brother, he'd be in the NHL, because it was just so competitive.
Did that house stay in the family name, or is it long gone?
It's gone about 20 years. It was a tough day to get rid of that place, but yeah, it was.
I can imagine the real estate listing suggesting that it was an unfinished basement by the time you guys got done with it. So
it might have been. It might have been, Brian. I remember one time we had the carpeted finished basement. In the back, there was tile, and it was a whole tile area. I don't know, 12 feet by 15 feet, and it was. I sprayed down the Armor All Protectant to make it really, really slippery.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And you can guess how many people fell on it when they went down there, my mom being one of them.
Oh, no.
But I would stick handle pucks down there. I'd put a game on TV or videotape, and I'd watch the game and stick handle, and I'd armor all the puck too, and it'd slide just like it was on the ice. But if you walked down it with socks on, you'd slide too. And that caught a few people. So
would that be weird? Because in my house, the basement was like the hockey room where we played, and my brother would take shots, and the styrofoam on the cement in the basement would be all ripped apart. And the tile room was the laundry room. So would that be the laundry room where your mom would go down and slip and fall as she was going in for a load of laundry?
Yeah, fortunately, she didn't have to go do laundry there, so she didn't go down there often. So okay. It was nice. It was secluded enough in the back. But it was a good size area. It was more of storage that she didn't have to go down there much.
Another thing that we did, sorry, Duffer, but another thing that I did as a kid that I was like, oh my goodness, like I wasn't the only one doing it, is we invented games. Like I remember we invented a hockey game that was with rackets, like either the racquetball or squash rackets, tennis rackets. And then we had a softball, like a foam ball, but we had goalie nets, and we played it like hockey, but with rackets, and we'd whack it around. So tell me about sock hawk. Well, is that a game you invented?
I was just going to say.
I'm just saying, I'm not giving out my sources.
You're talking to family members. Now I'm nervous. You got too much scoop. No, that
okay, we'll take it easy.
That game almost borderline violent there. But we had a small ball. It was a soccer ball. And then we just started kicking it around downstairs and decided, hey, you can use your hands, you can hit, so it evolved really quick into a pretty competitive game. It was a blast. We played that one a lot.
And did you keep stats on it?
We did. We had everything. We had scoreboards and anthems before the game and uniforms. And yeah, it was a formal deal.
Was that just you and your siblings, or were your friends afraid to come over to the house?
Yeah, one of lots of friends at the house, and they sometimes you felt bad for them because some groups of friends weren't quite as competitive and they'd get run over. And but my best friend was a hockey player all the way up, and he was a kid that his parents probably wouldn't let him out of the house unless it was with me. He's like, because he just got in trouble all the time. And my great friend, competitive as you could find, and he was always over and always playing with us, and it was made it that much more fun.
You still have those connections and friendships?
I do. I talk. That friend, good friend, is Brian Kraft, and he runs a fishing resort up in Alaska. It won Orvis Resort of the Year a few years ago. Beautiful spot, and I do talk to him a lot still. And you know, I got lots of actually really good friends from youth hockey in high school that I still keep in touch with, and they're still my best friends. They're awesome group. But we really grew up together. He was right down the street and as passionate about hockey as I was, and we were as a family, and he was in it with us all the time.
So you went from goalie to player, and then you had all this fun times in the basement, learning about competitiveness and fighting your brother and sister and friends or whatnot. And then at some point you decided, I'm going to go into coaching. Did you always know you wanted to be into coaching, and how did that switch got made?
Yeah, I think I felt it before I knew it. If that makes any sense. Like I just, when I recollect, I was just doing it and enjoying doing it, you know, whether it was running a youth hockey practice. And then I started a hockey camp right when I finished college and did that for a few years, and actually was hired to my first coaching job because two of the kids I had in it, their father bought an expansion team in the USHL and just called me out of the blue. He said, "You don't know me, but you've been running hockey school my kids have been in for a couple of years," and offered me the job. So yeah, and then when I went to Brainerd, Marty, and they hooked me up with coaching. You know, I was a counselor for 12-year-old kids to start or something like that, and just took a passion right there for. I was in the process too. I had to switch from goalie to forward, so I had to study the game. I had to, you know, no one was going to help me become better to accomplish, you know, what I wanted. I actually had to keep my goal of playing at Wisconsin quiet because people would have laughed at me at that point. So I just kept my mouth shut and knew I had to train harder than anybody else to get to that point, and really picked up a lot of nuances to, you know, development and coaching, you know, through that process. And I enjoyed it.
What do you
and it was fun to get back after that, really.
Yeah. What do you remember, like just the idea of somebody reaching out to you out of the blue and giving you that opportunity in the USHL? Like what was that first game behind the bench? Was that Green Bay?
It was Green Bay. Yeah. It was.
Green Bay. What was night one for you in Green Bay like? I mean, a
lot more nervous and nerve-wracking than night one in the NHL. I mean, by miles, because you didn't have experience in hindsight, you know, of years or decades I guess. But yeah, it was, you know, you didn't quite know the processes at that point of moving a team along, of developing a team. So a lot of unknowns. Everything was a hunch, I guess, you know, at that point. And I can remember the first year I convinced our owner. I asked him, I said, you know, John, we're probably not going to win the first year. And he's a very enthusiastic guy, and he animated guy. He's just jumping around. He's, well, Don, what do you mean? How come we can't win the first year? And I said, well, John, we're drafting last in the USHL draft. There is no expansion draft. So we have no access to veteran or experienced players, which the league historically, you know, you win with experience. I said, why don't we just control our culture, take all young kids so we can mold them, and then really shoot for it in year two. And so he was okay with that. He grabbed onto that plan, and we had 23 first-year players. And we had our first year, I remember our record, we were 9 wins, 38 losses, and some odd amount of ties, whatever the difference makes up 48. And there were people that were really impatient with us. And I remember at the end of that first year thinking, geez, my future as a coach is riding on a bunch of 17, 18-year-old kids right now. And I want to coach. And they came through. We were 51-17 the next year. We won the national championship. We won everything, won the league, the national championship. And then we repeated the next year. So we did. In 3 years in Green Bay, we won 2 national championships. And it was a tough road the first year. And you're coaching on the hunch of, I think this is going to work. I know this is going to work. And I had to sell our owners on just plugging through that first year, and it was not easy. I made the mistake of, I talked to our primary owner, was a guy 36 years old. His father was a very, very wealthy guy that owned a hotel chain, and he'd fly in for games. I didn't include in that meeting. So he didn't understand what was going on. I remember we were 3-9. We lost the game in overtime. And he says after the game, I want to talk to coach downstairs. And he laid into me for about 20 minutes of why our team can't do this, and you can't do that, and you can't pass, and the other team does this. And I just shut my mouth and listened. I mean, there was no way I was going to convince a guy, that had been so successful creating a hotel chain to pay attention to me in the process of it. I didn't include him at the outset. So I just bit the bullet, and we persevered, and he liked what we did. Needless to say, in the end result, he did like.
And 2 championship in 3 years. I'm pretty sure he went back to that conversation and said, yeah, coach is coach. I'll just be over there building hotel chains. Okay. So, but you said you made the switch after your college career, but again, my very, very strong research tells me that you actually wrote letters to NHL teams at a young age. So how many letters did you write, and what was that like?
I'm getting a little scared. How much longer do we have here, Duff?
That's why I'm just getting the good stuff out.
Yeah,
don't worry.
I don't want to scare you with how much longer we have, because
I'm going to go through
it kind of rhymes with infinity.
I'm going to go through the family after this, Marty, and it's not going to be pretty. I wrote to every NHL team, Marty, every team. Loved it. I mean, and I can remember the excitement of going to the mailbox and seeing an NHL logo on an envelope was one of the coolest things.
How old were you?
Envelope, you don't know what they sent you. A lot of them sent decals, thank yous, decals, patches. At the time were big, and just simple stuff. And I collected it. I actually have an old cigar box that I have that I painted Buffalo Sabre blue, and I put the Sabre decal on the box, and I actually have it in Buffalo. And I used it to save event tickets that I went to, concert tickets. Like as a kid, my first concert, believe it or not, was Elvis Presley. That ticket stub is in that box, and various Kiss concerts later in the 80s and things like that. But I still have that box with the Sabre sticker on it from that day.
So the Sabres. So how old were you when that you sent all these letters?
Probably 11 to 12 years old, 13 at most. And
Buffalo responded because you ended up with a sticker from the Sabres?
They did. I had multiple stickers from the Sabres. I was excited when I got them, and I put that one on. I painted that cigar box blue and put it on there.
That's awesome.
I was different. I only wrote to one team. It was Buffalo. And I can tell you, when I saw Perreault's autograph picture that came back to me, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw him play in Chicago Stadium, and I didn't know the Buffalo Sabres or their players at all. And boy, I remember it, the first period. What an impression. He was dynamic.
Yeah. First time I saw him was at Maple Leaf Gardens, and you're comparing it to what you've been seeing on hockey cards and things like that. And then all of a sudden, when you're close enough to see the French Connection, and they've all got facial hair, which they didn't have on their hockey cards, and the hair is longer, and you're just like, wait a minute, are these the guys that I even know? So yeah, it's a pretty cool experience. Since you brought it up, and we did do this on social media a while back, you mentioned the Elvis concert. So what do you remember? Like, how old were you, and what do you remember about Elvis at Chicago Stadium?
Well, it was 77 and I was 10 years old. So I remember the excitement of my parents getting tickets. I had Elvis Presley posters in my room, I think at the time, or I don't know why I even liked him. I just liked him for some reason. And I was never a big music guy, but I did like Elvis for some reason. And I asked for tickets. They got them. I had no idea how big Elvis Presley was. I was 10 years old, but they got tickets. My parents did. So the whole family came. We were at the opposite end of the Chicago Stadium. I do remember that. And I just remember the Elvis has left the building after, which is, but it was, the images I remember very, very well of that. His white costume and the place going absolutely berserk for him.
Well, old buildings like that, Donnie. I mean, here in Buffalo, we had the Odd for the longest time. I mean, I grew up in Quebec City with the Calze, right? It was like a very intimate, older building. Did it make a difference that, for concerts and for hockey games, was that something that you remember from your youth? Like saying, man, the Chicago Stadium, that was such a cool place to go and watch either an event or a hockey game or whatever.
Yeah, the hockey games, it might be just my perception, Marty, but they were louder than the concerts even. And what I mean by that, I remember multiple times. I remember I'd be standing during the anthem. Obviously, you stand up, and we had 6 seats right in a row. So to the right of me and the left of me is either a brother or sister. And I remember the first time trying to talk to them and speak to them during the anthem. And it was surreal because you could see their mouth moving, but you could hear nothing coming out, just the noise of the building. So it really was as if they're faking that they're actually speaking with any volume, but their lips are moving. It was amazing. That was the first time I ever saw that, where it was so loud, you literally, someone 12 inches away from you, you could not hear their voice at all, yet their lips were moving. And that was how loud that stadium was. It was an amazing place, as you guys know.
So did you at some point then get down to event level and technically lower and make that walk up the stairs to the ice surface?
I
never did it,
Brian. No. And that would have been something cherished. Didn't do that one. Marty did.
No, I didn't. When I got into the league, Chicago Stadium wasn't there anymore. So I didn't. I did experience the Montreal Forum, the Odd, a few rings, but I did not experience Chicago Stadium. I wish I would have. Just the national anthem, right? And the fan, like as you pointed out, they would just cheer their hearts out. It was pretty amazing. Okay, so you talk about music, concerts. Do you play an instrument? Have you ever played an instrument? Is that something that you did as a kid?
You might have to refresh my memory, Marty.
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't want to give out all the information I've got on you, but you mentioned a band Kiss. And I just want to make sure we let people know you were a huge Kiss fan, as I'm being told.
And we might also have access to pictures, so you might want to answer this correctly.
Now, confessions, just to maybe stem the tide here. Yeah, we had Kiss concerts, Marty. They were fake Kiss concerts. We spit ketchup all over the place.
Now, I did not know that. So you went, you led yourself into that road where we'll ask follow-up questions for sure.
Yeah. I know. We had lots of fake concerts. Nobody in our family was musically inclined. Actually, I apologize. My youngest brother was the closest thing to it, but we would have. We had a lot of idle time. So as all kids do. So we got creative.
What role did Cammie play in the band?
I can't remember. Probably she was probably Peter Chris.
Yeah.
Remember? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't even remember those too much. I just the specifics of it. I just remember the general, man. We put a lot of time and effort into costumes and performances. And we only perform for ourselves to get ourselves, to get the laugh or enjoyment out of it ourselves.
Well, I'll embarrass myself to a certain level as well. My first year in Rochester with the Americans, me and 3 of my buddies, 3 other French guys. We were 4 guys from Quebec at the time. We all showed up at the Halloween party dressed up as Kiss, like the full out hair and makeup and the tights and the boots, and we went all out. So I don't know what it was with Kiss, but it just seemed to be a fun costume and a fun character to show up as. I don't know.
Wow. Yeah, they were genius marketers, because I don't know that their music it certainly wasn't as great as their show. And they were probably one of the first big, at least in my era, the marketing was amazing for that band.
Yeah. Yep. Still exists today. I mean,
I went and saw them in Buffalo 2 years ago.
Oh, did you?
Yes. Yeah. KeyBank.
What did you think?
It was phenomenal.
The show was better than the music?
The show and the fans in the building. It was awesome. The people, it was people from that era. It felt great. It was, it's an era. It was an era of time, and it's still, they go perform and you still jump back into that era for a night. It's fun.
Yeah. The pyro is pretty intense, and it's, it's kind of neat to actually feel it, because you do feel the heat. You said something last year that was, again, honest and like really funny at the same time, when you got your first win, and you were talking about how even your dad had steered clear of texting you and you wondered if he'd stop following because it took a while to get that first win. But then you were glad to hear from him after you finally got the win. What talk to me about like the relationship with him and what it's been like since you got this job to be the full-time head coach, and how often you still interact.
Yeah. I mean, we talk like most close families all the time, consistently, if not calling, lots of texting. Thankfully that we have that. We use that very, very often. He's got a really good sense of humor, sometimes a dry sense of humor, but he's a quiet guy. He never, smiled much. He ran his own business. My grandfather started it. My dad loved baseball. He was passionate about baseball as a kid growing up. And then didn't get to follow that dream, went to work, I think at 20 years old, to start a beer distributorship with my grandfather in Chicago. And I watched him work. If the alarms went off at 3 a.m, he was up going to fix them. Any problem that happened, he had to, he had that responsibility. So he had 6 of us as kids. So he had a lot of responsibility, as my mom did, and they took things serious, but he had a great sense of humor. And as a note, I'll give you this one. So I always enjoy seeing his texts after the games. And we beat Tampa the other, whatever it was, a couple of weeks ago. And I get a ton of texts. By the time I pick up my phone, there's many, many texts from friends. And I scroll down to his, because I know it's going to be good. And all it says, doesn't say good win or great job or anything, nothing of that. It says, do we get a day with the cup? ? And that was it. And I just started laughing, and I told our staff that. They had a great laugh, but it's just simple, funny humor like that. That's great. And it's a lot of fun.
That's great.
So you get a text. Like, I remember my dad would either text me when things were really good or really bad. Like, he would just kind of let me do my thing. Is that the same thing? Like, will you get a text after every game?
Well, I got one last night. I can't remember it, but it was also, to the point. It's really to the point, but good. Sometimes there's a little humor in it, but I think last night's there was some reality in it as well. So it's fun to get them. It's fun to get texts from anybody and everybody, but those I look forward to definitely. But so he's not too critical, I guess, or too harsh, I should say. He'll tell it like it is, which is great. I mean, we all see certain things when they don't go well, and we all have thoughts on that.
Donnie, I usually do a little this or that, and I figured maybe it'd be time to just get a few quick one-timers, this or that question for you and get to know you a little bit more. So you talked about your buddy that has a big fishing camp in Alaska. So this or that, golf or fish in the summertime?
Fish.
Duffer, what are you, golf or fish, Duffer?
I like both, but I do golf more, so I have to go with that.
Yeah, I say golf too. My dad used to always want to take us fishing, and I was like, eh. Okay, how about this? You like summer or winter better, Donnie? This or that?
Winter.
Winter, Duffer?
Fall.
Oh, obviously you pick a season I did not have on the questions. That's fine.
I switched to what Duffer said.
Yeah, fall. Okay, fall is elite.
That's an option. I'm going to fall.
Okay, we have a good friend Jeremy White here. He says fall is elite. So yes. Glasses or contacts? Because I know you guys both wear glasses, but Duffer, I think you have contacts at the time. Donnie, I don't think I've ever seen you without your glasses. So glasses or contacts, this or that?
I tried contacts, so glasses.
Yeah, so contacts don't work?
They don't. Most of these I have to use pretty much for reading. My
Okay.
distance is okay, but when I put the contacts on, it blurs the distance.
Duffer, contacts or glasses?
Contacts when on air with you, because I have to somehow stay in the same ballpark as you, with the appearance. And
Come on.
but Donnie's making me revisit glasses. Now, I had the blue frames before
Yep.
Donnie came to town, but Donnie then one up me with a better looking set of blue frames. So I'm probably going to gravitate back to glasses.
Yeah, I can't take credit for those. Plenty of people have complimented me on those, but somebody at this eye doctor picked those out for me. They said, these are perfect for you, coach. And they ordered them. I said, okay, I'll do it. And
I have to say, they look good. I like the blue frames on you, Duffer and Donnie. They look good also. Okay, how about this? Under 8 hours of sleep a night or over 8 hours of sleep a night? And I know what Duffer's answer is, but Donnie, I don't know about you, this or that.
No, more than 8 is too many. But I need 7.
Okay. I was going to say 7, but the Duffer, I know it's like 4.
It's under 8 in a week, Marty. No.
And then last but not least, and this will be interesting, for hockey development, Canadian juniors or U.S. colleges? Donnie, you're a big development guy. You've seen it all. So Canadian juniors or U.S. colleges, this or that?
College for me. Extend your development time.
Okay.
College for me too. Not
yeah,
that you
and
needed my
I
opinion.
play Canadian juniors, and I think I can see it now, the benefits of playing college and going to USHL or North American Hockey League and then college and mature and be able to handle it. So anyway, those are all the this or that I got. So I'm going to do my David Letterman and throw my piece of paper out like this, like it's a top 10. So,
and Donnie, great news. We're out of time. You have maxed out and set us on our way on the initial Instigators Overtime. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. A great morning. I appreciate it. And all the best. We'll see you soon.
Wow. Marty, how good was Don Granato?
now, it's funny because he's 10 years older than I am, but we did the same thing as kids. And the interaction with his father and the work ethic from his father that passed on to him and his family, it's just amazing. Great stories and a lot of fun. And I feel like I'd like to have a beer with him and talk even some more. So that's how cool it was.
And the respect and admiration and absolute joy that he got out of being part of a big family. The learning, everything in his life, is so family driven, but it's stuff that just you learn inherently because of that group. You didn't seek anything else outside of that family dynamic because it had it all. And you're not knowing it at the time. You're just absorbing it and being a part of it and being inclusive. It's amazing to hear him talk about the importance of family. Now, sorry, go ahead.
No, I never realized, and now I'm listening to what he said, how I got competitive by just playing with my brother. It was only my brother and I, but we played Sega Genesis. We played mini hockey. We played out in the street, played baseball. We played many different sports. I always wanted to beat him. And I didn't want to just beat him. I wanted to put him through the wall. And then I just got so competitive. Now I'll play, Monopoly with you, Duffer, and I want to win everything. That's how competitive I am. But it stems from me and my brother. And that's what Donnie was saying. That how competitive they got was from the games in the basement and all of that. That's how they developed that sense. It's amazing.
It was like me playing cribbage with my grandmother.
Oh,
I always wanted to win.
but and if I could
she knew how to beat me. So
if you could steal a point or two off her hand and she made a mistake, how good would that feel?
That was great. Okay. We are almost out of time, which is kind of strange to say on a show that has no time limits, but hey, we're creatures of habit. We're going to do 3 stars every week. Sometimes we might throw in 3 non-stars as well, but we're trying to stay positive in the initial episode of Instigators Overtime. So Marty, are we going reverse 3, 2, 1 or 1, 2, 3? And where do you want to start?
Okay, I'm going to go 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I'm going to say number 3, la troisième étoile, the 3rd star. I'm going to give it to the Seattle Kraken's white away jersey. I love them. I think they're amazing. I wish, again, white was a home jersey, but let's not talk about it. Buffalo's doing the White Hot Friday at times this year. It's going to be fantastic, but that jersey is out of the park. It's fantastic. Do you want me to go 2 and 1 and then you go?
No, I'm going to do 3.
Okay.
My third is for a team that, for all the wrong reasons, has garnered so much attention of late in Chicago. But I will always say that the one that got away for me from the Sabres is Brandon Hagel. All this kid has done is personify what the dream is all about. And just hearing Don Granato, I think of a guy like Brandon Hagel, 159th in 2016. For whatever reason, not retained contractually by Buffalo, goes back in, Chicago takes him, and he's done nothing but climb the ladder to the point now where they plug and play him on the top line. He is absolutely the epitome of what a hockey player can and should be. Love him.
Well, go with your second star now.
Well,
keep on the roll.
The second is very comparable because he was taken 123rd in 2015. And to me, I'm still dumbfounded that a team would move off of him. Shame on Arizona. Congratulations, Vancouver. Connor Garland, 10 points in his first 10 games. The guy, again, is everything I want in a player.
Good old Christmas Garland as the Christmas season approaches very rapidly. Yes, he's done an amazing job this year. My second star, I'm giving it to Freddie Anderson of the Carolina Hurricanes. One of the best story, leaving Toronto as a free agent, going to Carolina. His numbers are unbelievable, still unbeaten as we're recording this. Fantastic. And for a guy that almost was pushed out of town in Toronto because of the playoffs failure and all that, we realized it wasn't the goalie. As I said many times, I love Freddie Anderson, the way he plays. It was much more about the team, and he's showing it in Carolina right now.
La Première Étoile, Marty, the first star.
First star is Alexander the Great, Alex Ovechkin, who has started the season on fire with 9 goals early on, leading the way. A guy that we weren't sure if he was going to start game 1 because he had the injury in preseason, and is showing that, oh, look out, Brett Hull, I'm coming for you. Look out, Jaromir Jagr and Gordie Howe and probably Wayne Gretzky at some point in the next 5 years. So here's my first star, Alex Ovechkin.
And I'm going deep back in the draft in 2015, 148th overall. And he's not Trevor Zegras, of course, but he is a Duck, and he's incredibly mighty to start this year. Troy Terry, only seemingly known for shootout skills as he broached the NHL. He's finally figured it all out. He's bringing veteran players along with him. 9-game point streak as we record this, 7 goals in the midst of that. And he is simply showing how dynamic he can be. And let it be a lesson in patience that sometimes it does pay off.
He's 0 for 1 in shootouts this year, Duffer. So he's terrible this year. And but okay. And listen, I know we do our 3 stars, but I also think that more important than any stars, we have to commend and be so unbelievably I want to say appreciative, but it's just the courageous nature of Kyle Beach, his interview with Rick Westhead, his story, everything that he's gone through for not just the past 1, 2, 3, 4 years, 11 years. People remember that this sexual abuse took place in 2010, and now he's speaking out, and this has been amazing. So to Kyle Beach, I think more than any other stars we have, he's been the biggest of the stars lately, and that's for sure.
Courage in all caps, and that does not even begin to describe what Kyle Beach is, who he is, and how much he will impact so many people moving forward. Well said, Marty. Everyone, thank you for being with us for the inaugural Instigators Overtime. We'll see you soon.